Thank you, Chairman Costa and Ranking Member Rouser. I appreciate the opportunity to testify about the threat nutria poses to the California Central Valley, and I especially want to thank Congressman Costa for identifying ways USDA and the California Fish and Wildlife Service can work together to contain and eradicate these swamp rats. For folks who have no idea what a nutria is, all you need to know is this is a giant swamp rat which can destroy vitally important parts of our agriculture, everything from crops, including almond trees, irrigation canals. They can even cause flooding by burrowing into water control systems and threatening our water infrastructure. And if we don't take action now, there could be 250,000 nutria just in California within 5 years, because one female can lead to 200 offspring in a year. 200. And that's why I've introduced a bill that invests $7 million now to help our community and our country get ahead of this issue before it's too late. And to illustrate this, I brought this fantastic prop, which is called the invasion curve, thanks to the California Fish and Wildlife Service. I call it the nutria curve. We can also call it the feral hog curve. We'll talk about that. And essentially what you see here is you see the exponential growth of an invasive species. You see that at the beginning, you have the introduction of an invasive species, you see the first detection, then you see when folks are aware, and then when public awareness begins, and then finally when eradication is all but impossible, when all you can do is have local control and management. And this is the costs of containment are obviously also exponential as the population grows. This is where we are right now on nutria. We're right here. We've detected the problem, but eradication is still feasible. If we don't combat this problem quickly, pretty soon we're going to be right here. By the time that public awareness really begins, by the time you see these nutria all up in your farm, it's already too late to eradicate the problem completely. You see the exact same thing, by the way, with what's happened in feral hogs. I think feral hogs are actually an example of not taking this as seriously as we should have at the beginning. I mean, in the 1980s, wild pigs were where nutria is today, only found in a handful of states, but today they're found in 35 states, costing $2.5 billion in damage annually. Some farmers in southern states lose up to 50% of their yield just from these pigs, and folks have to worry about 30 to 50 feral hogs in their backyard attacking their kids. And so the Farm Bill, has set aside $75 million over 5 years to address this crisis, but I wish what we would have done is actually addressed it years earlier, decades earlier, when it was still easier to eradicate it. And so my goal is to make nutria not the next feral hog infestation. We come from a state where there's a lot of droughts, floods, wildfires. We need to be able to get ahead of disasters, and invasive species are just the next one. And I hear a lot of my colleagues talk about fiscal responsibility, and I couldn't agree more. By getting ahead of this problem now, when it's still manageable, we're spending $7 million to eradicate this problem instead of spending $2.5 billion every single year like we are on feral hogs. We actually end up saving a whole lot of money in the long run before they actually get out of control. And I want to thank the administration for taking this issue very seriously, working with my office to identify a bipartisan bill that addresses this serious problem. And I also want to thank the Ag Committee for holding this hearing on this vitally important issue. We need to make sure, because the challenge here, just the last point I'd make, is that by the time public awareness begins, eradication is very unlikely. And by the time folks really understand the depth of this problem, eradication is actually all but impossible. And so we have to get started now when we're seeing these invasive swamp rats all over. I mean, these things can go up to 30, 40, 50 pounds. They're huge. And one female, 200 offspring, we've got to be able to nip it in the bud. So with that, I yield back my time. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, and I look forward to hopefully getting our bill across the finish line.